Alright, hello, this is week 8 of my winter Munros. This week 8, everything has kind of gone to pot a little bit with the weather. The weather this winter has been really predominantly westerly airflows. It's windy. Before I started this Munro round, I mean, frankly, I've actually been thinking about doing it for years, and I've spent all the previous winters actively thinking about it in a very practical sense, using past winters to essentially model what might end up occurring during the actual winter Munro round. And one of the things that I really put a lot of time into and effort into was looking at the weather and the weather forecasts. And normally what happens throughout the course of a winter season, and by that we're talking a period of 3 or 4 months, so actually a really long period, is that the airflow tends to fluctuate and vary as the season goes on. So you will get periods of westerlies coming in off the Atlantic, but equally you might have a southerly, or you might get easterlies like we had during the Beast from the East, and occasionally you'll get northerlies. If you get northerlies, you obviously cold airflow, freezing level right down into the glens. But what's happened this winter is that the airflow ever since I began this winter Munro round has been predominantly westerly, and it has essentially not changed whatsoever since I began. And this in itself is highly unusual. It's just not really normal that that would happen. I had the wind to my back coming up, and then I'm walking into the wind on the way back. So it's yeah, really cool. There's been essentially no really calm, clear, settled days. It's been predominantly wind, rain and snow coming in off the Atlantic. Now what's happened is I've been 1 week around the Northwest Highlands and the westerlies aren't stopping, they are just getting worse. And what's happened is it's turned to a polar maritime airflow, which is an airflow from the northwest off the sea, but cold as well. So not only you're getting high rainfall, high winds, you're also getting blizzard conditions here and there. This week I did Ben Wyvis. I went up Ben Wyvis, so I was in the region. I thought, well, the weather was so bad, I thought I would head for Ben Wyvis, head further north where there are some quite short days. Yeah, summit of Ben Wyvis. Conditions feel okay. Not too bad at all. The weather on the day I did Ben Wyvis really wasn't great, but given the conditions that surrounded it and the severity and the sheer severity of the storms that it was placed among, it was actually a really big win just to do such a modest hill. And it really shows how the weather is such a big part of this, but it can totally shut you down. It doesn't matter what you are, who you are, anything like that. It is, yeah, it can just profoundly affect you. The following day I headed to Achnaisheen for another solitary lone Munro in the area called Fuinvine. And Fuinvine is a sort of pretty, I think I've described it before as a nondescript grassy dome. It's just a lump, so what that means is it creates no logistical problems. You simply walk up it and walk back down and there's no fuss. So it's really good for a bad day. And I did agonise a little bit over it because the weather was so bad. I feel like it's rapidly turning into another day off. But when the weather's nuclear like this, it's just like, why go out? But I set off walking, and within 10 minutes of walking there was thunder coming from behind the hills. I looked at the lightning map and just there and then made a judgment call, almost unconsciously. There's every chance I would get up and down the hill absolutely fine, and it's actually probable that I would get up and down the hill absolutely fine. But I can't just guarantee it. My legs almost turned themselves around and walked back down. There's not a great quantity of thunder, there's not a lot, but there is thunder, it is happening occasionally, and again I just felt like, yeah, if I was going to keep going up the hill, having been given a clear signal like that, I mean, you're just trying to play God with something you've got no control over. There is a limit of risk, and I'm not going there. The big advantage with this week was there was a weather window opening up out of nowhere really. It was just a blip between the storms, and so the thing that I have with the Northwest Highlands is I have a bunch of backpacking trips into the more remote areas, where instead of doing day trips, it just matters that you go through Bothy to Bothy and do these areas, because it's just far more efficient. And with no prospect of any decent weather on the way, I thought this is the way that I should use the opportunity to go to Kintail. At last the storm has abated. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I went up a Glashfin and Ben Atta and found great weather. The weather was really good that day, and there was a lot of wind slab, there was a lot of snow, but weather was reasonable. But I found myself really tired. It's just like feeling absent. It's just like nothing's happening. But I had a good day in the Two Munros, and I dropped down to Alt Bay in Glen Affric, where I met Helen, and Helen walked in with dinner and we met there for a night. The following day might be the best day of the winter. Out of nowhere. It came one day and then it disappeared the following day. I did the 3 Munros, 3 remote Munros to the north of Alt Bay. So, Ansocka, Sgurr and Kirwinin, and an outlier remote called Mullach na Yirkin. The weather just couldn't have been better. Just really ultimate, and it was hard to believe that things had been so bad when you're faced with this sort of stunning day, and really something I'll never forget. And just to be standing up on Sgurr and Kirwinin, such a high, prominent, remote hill in the centre of the Northwest Highlands, surrounded by all these peaks, covered from top to toe in snow, and with the sun going down in the west over Skye, the islands. Again, just one of those stunning experiences that came out of nowhere. And Helen headed back in the evening to Glen Affric, and I headed west to Loch Dubh. Last light up to Bealach and Scarney. I'm heading to this pass in the hills, through and then down to Kintail. I had this lump of ice attached to the bottom of my boot for ages. It was stuck on like that, so it meant I was slipping and sliding. Everything's really icy today. Walking back through in the dusk, and just an amazing experience. I have to admit, I almost do wish there were more days this winter like that, because those are the days you really go for, the really stunners. So I'm massively grateful to have made it in there. The following day I went back to Fuinvine, and again the weather was absolutely atrocious in the morning. With all the storms coming through, it just makes it really hard to get anything done. And it's not just that there's one storm and then it's gone again, and then there's a storm and then it's gone again. What's happening is you're getting these humongous deep areas in the Atlantic Ocean that are just rotating. Some of them have been like a majority size of the Atlantic Ocean, and what happens is that it takes days for that to blow across past the UK and just get away. I was very, very, very close to not setting off whatsoever, but I thought, if you don't try, you'll never know. And as I set off, I got 1 hour of luck when the sun popped out for a few moments. Nothing really bad came through in terms of precipitation, and I managed to get up and down the hill. Quick video, top of Fuinvine. Glad I got here. A mountain like Fuinvine poses a big challenge. You know the weather's pretty bad, so I'm really grateful for any sort of ticks so far, any more summits that I can get. But certainly it's been a tough week, and it's been a kind of big change from the massive multi-summit bagging, but the weather really has to get a little bit better for me to do that, to manage these bigger days.